guys, DanO here from the DanO Tarot Sonic Ensemble, completing up this 5-part series on the musicians, performers, or bands that have been most influential to me personally. So, as I've done a few of these, I thought I would let older me go over the criteria of what constitutes a song to be on this list. Let's check out what older me had to say. So in order to make this list of artists or performers, I need some criteria. One, I have to be a longtime fan of the band or performer. Number 2 is I can sing multiple tunes of theirs just kind of off the cuff. Lyrics has always been pretty sticky in my head. I seem to remember them a lot. And 3, I have multiple songs in my songbook called El Songbook. All right, so having said all that, you guys may remember from the last episode, we got a look at a art installation that I have in my kitchen cabinetry here. We have Zappa on the right side, and who's that guy on the left? Well, that's Trey Anastasio from Phish. So Phish is the #1 band that has influenced me over the years. So I first became a fan of Phish back in 1992. I went to go see a Carlos Santana show in Santa Fe at the Downs outside of town there, and Phish was opening for him. Never heard of the band and kind of got interested. I saw Trey play a solo trading back and forth with Santana, and at the time Santana was one of the best guitarists, at least in my head. I thought he was, really good, really emotional, really emoted his playing. He was a real good cat, and there he was playing with this red-headed, bearded fella from a band called Phish. So I started to get interested in Phish and saw a few more of their shows over the years. Phish has a very strong fan base, and they're from Vermont, so they're East Coast. So if you go east, a lot more Phish fans. Around New Mexico, I'm like the main Phish fan that you'll probably meet, but compared to all of those really huge Phish fans, not a big deal over here. I've been to 22 Phish shows, and I know that because there's a website called Phish.net where you can note all the shows that you've gone to, and everyone tells stories about the shows, and there's a robust stats filter that you can run on all the shows to see, what song have you seen the most, what song have you missed. And Phish heads are pretty nerdy people, and they were an early part of the internet, the use groups and the early communications even before the World Wide Web, when there was just the internet and you had to dial into servers to be able to access libraries of data. So that's what I did when I first got to college. Here's a printout I made way back in the day, probably 92 or 93. And Phish fans would post tablatures of what they learned. They would meticulously learn the solos and the whole songs that Trey and the band and Phish would perform, and they would post it for the rest of us to download and learn ourselves. So there's always been a very sharing component of the Phish community. They used to share live shows. Phish was very generous in allowing tapers to record shows, and they would seed them out into the community. You could trade shows for blanks and postage, as they would say. You would send someone blank cassettes and later blank CDs and postage, and they would send you back a recording of the show. It was really cool. So Phish, there's also a big debate in the community about live shows versus recorded albums, with most fans preferring the live shows. And they're not wrong. The live performances are phenomenal. Phish is a very improvisational band. They also have touching songs. They also have long improvised songs. They have composed songs. They have fugues. It's all over the board. Bluegrass songs, jazz tunes, instrumentals. So they do quite a bit. So Phish fans really prefer seeing the band live and are a little dismissive of the albums sometimes. I like the albums too. So if you're new to Phish, the albums are probably the way to start. So some quick albums you might consider if you want to get into Phish a little bit. Hoist is a fantastic album. Billy Breathes, that came out in 95, great album. Story of the Ghost, 98, fantastic album. Joy came out a few years later. I like that one a lot. Fuego is a more recent album and excellent album. Sigma Oasis is their most recent album. Just came out maybe 2020. Very good album. Again, good stuff. But if you want to get into the live shows, which is where the secret sauce is. Phish has made almost all of their music available for streaming on their own site called livephish.com. So you go there, you can get free samples of various songs. You can go to YouTube and see some samples. They stream songs from their shows all the time. It's good stuff. But with Live Phish, if you buy it for a month, you can listen to just about anything. It's good stuff. So some shows you might consider if you're checking out the live stuff. Why not go see 9/3/22, which was this last show that I just saw in Colorado in Denver. That was a great show. You can check out any New Year's Eve show. They're famous for their New Year's Eve shows at the Madison Square Garden in New York, or any Halloween show. They're famous for putting on a musical disguise and like doing a whole album of another band. A non-Halloween show that they did, it was a couple days after Halloween, 11/2/98 in Utah. They had just come off a Halloween show in Las Vegas, and there wasn't a big crowd in Utah, so they decided to play the full Dark Side of the Moon album as set 3 in their performance. So you can never tell with that band. They're gonna pull out something good every now and then. So that's some good stuff to keep track of. So I want to show you guys, I want to play a little song from El Songbook. This song is from the Story of the Ghost album. It's called Waiting in the Velvet Sea. And it's a slower song. It's kind of, I guess, a ballad. But this album came out right around when my son was born. And he was just a little spud there, time to put the kid to bed. And the lullaby was almost always this song. And it's kind of sweet. I was talking to him a few years back. He's an adult now. And he said, I always thought that was your song. Whenever you would play it on the radio, because you always lullabied it to me, I always thought that was just you singing. And I thought that was a pretty sweet sentiment. So here is Waiting in the Velvet Sea. Took a moment from my day, wrapped it up in things you say, mailed it off to your address. You'll get it pretty soon unless the packaging begins to break, and all the points I tried to make, tossed my thoughts into a bin. Time leaks out, my life leaks in. You won't find moments in a box, and someone else will set your clocks. Took a moment from my day and wrapped it up in things you say, and mailed it off to you. I've been waiting in the velvet sea. I've been waiting in the velvet sea. Waiting in the velvet sea. I've been waiting in the waiting in the velvet sea. I've been waiting in the velvet sea. Waiting in the velvet sea. I've been waiting in the Oh, love it. Well, thank you guys for sharing this musical journey of mine. I had a great time kind of getting my thoughts together on all the music and performers that have meant a lot to me over the years. And hopefully some of it might be interesting to you guys too. So stay tuned for the next one. Remember to do the likey, subscribey, and dose!